It is a beautiful. Hold on. Music. Yeah. How we doing, everybody? It's a Fire Friday. Susan speaks live on your radio. Vibes going on in the background. Hey. Fire Friday. We just so grateful that you're here. Wagwan, everybody. Big up everybody listening, everybody watching on the, here we go. I see you now, YouTube. Wagwan, YouTube. How you doing, everybody watching on the app? Having a good time listening. Of course, the mix was exquisite. Had me going through my lunch hour. And I'm here with you now. Welcome. If you are brand new here, my name is Suzette Speaks. I'm an attorney and, of course, a radio host here on Voice of the Caribbean Radio. I come to you live every Thursday and Friday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And my show, the Suzette Speaks Show Live, is about hot topics, social media trends, news you can use. And of course, the big news today is about the summit in Alaska. I know you guys are so busy. Happy Friday online. I see you, Smooth Approach. Everybody watching. Big up everybody listening in their cars. Everybody listening on the app. Did you know that the Voice of the Caribbean is an app that you can take wherever you go? Well, now you know. Go to the App Store. Go to your Google Play Store and look us up. We are, listen, live, clear, and in color on the app. I love the sound of the app. And again, I keep telling you, we have some wonderful news in store. And I'm itching to tell you, but of course I have to keep it a secret until it's, official. But we have some changes going on here at the West of the Caribbean, and we are excited about some new growth and new higher heights that we'll be reaching in the next few weeks as we kind of bring you along on this journey, as we're building the community, as we're growing bigger, better, stronger together. We appreciate you, our listeners. Thank you for the community that supports us, everybody who's been watching, everybody who's been listening, kind of seeing this journey. Can you believe we'll be celebrating 10 years? Yeah, I'm so grateful to be a part of the team here. Big up Mike and Mike, big up Miss Chin, big up Miss Lisa B, big up Gary Enforcement, big up Undisputed, big up, listen, I can go through all of the names. Shotty Reds, everybody, Miss Opal Lee. The team here goes so deep. And as most of you know, if you're new here, you may not know that we try to do, a mixture of news, of course, during the midday. We have a lot of talk shows, right, to keep you informed. Big up Dale Holness, former mayor of Broward County, who also earlier in the week brings interesting voices to you, the people, so you'll know what's going on in our community. And I hope to do that too. And the top story I have to go over today, and we just want to, kind of let you know. I know everybody's so busy. It's back to school officially. The kids are, doing their thing, getting adjusted back to the early waking up, and hopefully no more iPad and things like that. Hopefully going to bed on time. Remember that part? Well, with all that going on, life is still happening. And the big news today has to do with the meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin that should be taking place today in Alaska. So right now, as of this show, leaders are heading to Alaska, and not including those from Ukraine, but everybody who has been watching is really anticipating what might happen. But Mr. Trump, the president of the United States, has began to kind of bring down expectations between his meeting and the leader of Russia, Vladimir Putin. President Donald Trump has said that this summit that is scheduled to take place in Alaska today will set the table for further talks in Ukraine. That's as the latest reports, as of the latest reports that we're getting. This is out of NBC News. At first, there was a lot of anticipation around today's summit. Again, President Donald Trump is set to meet with leader of Russia. I'm not sure if he's called the president. Let me double check. But Mr. Putin, the head of the Russian government, and his Russian counterpart are set to meet here today in really what the NBC News is reporting is an audacious bid to broker a peace deal and stop the 3-year war with Ukraine and its ever-rising death toll, right? So we have to remember, as we're living our lives, I keep having this conversation with my peers and people who are, in my circle. Folks are having, this sense of, I just have to live day by day, sometimes just live for me and not pay attention to what's going on in the news and not pay attention to what's going on outside of my family and outside of my life. But it's important to keep tabs and to stay aware of what's happening, because oftentimes those things can find their way on your doorstep. The very same thing that's happening in Ukraine, the very same thing, as we discussed, that's happening in Washington, D.C., where the President of the United States has exercised within his, what he's calling his legal right, based on home rule law in D.C., Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States, where he has taken over or has federalized the police department in Washington, D.C., and put troops, National Guard troops, on the ground to police an American city, an American district. It's not truly, it's not self-governing. The way the laws around Washington, D.C. are written, we see that the temperature has changed. A lot of talk about crime, and I went into detail on yesterday's show how crime in D.C. actually, according to Mayor Muriel Bowser, mayor of Washington, D.C., statistically speaking, looking at the research for myself, crime is down across the board, 30-year low in Washington, D.C. But based on the rhetoric of the president, we are seeing, an exercise of power that we have never seen before. And, it's D.C. for now, and technically and legally, D.C., when there's a state of emergency, a president has the legal right to implement the changes that Mr. Trump has, just set forth at the beginning of this week, which is to put troops, to put military personnel on the ground. And it's a little bit scary for those who are working and living in Washington, D.C. I was talking to my cousin there, and even myself. Let me just, for my own sake, y'all watching online, hit the like button. If you're watching on streaming, Wagwan, big up yourself. You see, your girl is a redhead now. Hey, we had to switch it up. It's still summertime. Got a lot of events coming up. We got to stay fresh at the end of the month. If you are like to dance like me, I probably will be at Igloo and some of the other events going on. I was looking at my calendar, setting out my calendar for the next few weeks, and I will be a busy lady. Thanks be to God, right? I will be hosting the Louise Bennett Coverly Heritage Foundation's wonderful fashion show and pantomime event coming up September 20th and 21st. That's going to be in Lauderhill. I'm grateful for the Louise Bennett Coverly Heritage Foundation. They are keeping this icon alive. The storyteller, the anthropologist, the luminary Louise Bennett Coverly from out of Jamaica, who embraced the patois language, who embraced what I would call indigenous culture and brought it to the forefront and gave us a sense of pride about it. Well, we're celebrating her legacy here in South Florida on the 20th and 21st. I'm excited to be one of the co-hosts and narrators of a tribute show put on by the Louise Bennett Coverly Heritage Foundation. That will be, tickets are on sale at the Lauderhill Performing Arts Center. I can't wait, September 20th, 21st. And I didn't want to get into events yet. I like to leave you with a calendar of all the kind of things going on around South Florida up and coming. Did I tell you as well? I'm going to be putting back on my own empowerment events. I used to do women's seminars and workshops and things like this. Well, I'm back. I already have the dates. If you are looking to elevate, if you're looking to connect with like-minded women, I was telling the crew here, Mikey Mike and the team, yes, I'm going to be back in a very familiar space where I'm doing some motivational speaking and talking and workshopping with ladies. And I'm hoping to have an impact to heal, to uplift, to give people, new perspective and breakthrough for their lives. I love doing that, and it's a passion, and I'm going to be going back to it. I have a date in October and a date in November now. I have a location here in South Florida. I think it'll be up in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm just, interviewing and vetting women speakers right now, women trying to find alignment for folks who I'm going to share a platform with in order to elevate and, like I said, enlighten, uplift, and restore women in whatever areas of life, whether it's the interpersonal life, the spiritual life, the mental life. It's something that I'm really, really, really passionate about, and I've gotten away from it for a little bit, but now it's time. I'm grateful, and with the response from speakers I've gotten, I just put out a little call for a couple people. Hey, do you guys know of any good new voices, women speakers, motivational speakers, people I could work with and team up? And immediately, boom, boom, boom. I have 2 conversations with ladies yesterday, 2 conversations with another group of ladies the day before, and I have 2 conversations set up for today. So right after the show, I'll be kind of working through some of the get to know yous and seeing if there's an alignment there. Because let me tell you, we do work. We break strongholds and we want to get people's minds reset. There's a lot going on. Of course, mental health is something that I champion, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. Of course, I have a therapist. Hallelujah. Let's go. I know y'all want not to talk about that. Sometimes prayer is the beginning, and therapy helps to unpack some of the pain and the places in our lives that have caused us wounds. And I think sometimes in our culture, we don't have a lot of spaces, public spaces, where we get to talk about those wounds. But baby, we go, hey, I see you online. The Stephanie Humphrey channel, what's up? She said, yes, uproot and replant. Sis, I don't want to even get started. I don't want to get started because I know, there's a lot of people walking around with a lot of trauma and a lot of pain and things going on in everybody's life, right? I got stuff going on. You got stuff going on. But I will be my sister's keeper in this season. And I know there are people who are going to, seek out places where they can gain restoration. And I hope to provide that, a safe space where people can not only network, I want to build community. And I know for me, it energizes me to be around women who are trying to become their better selves. And I'm not afraid to, put myself out there in a vulnerable way and talk about things that are sometimes uncomfortable. So I'm going to do 2 workshops. I have the dates, October 12th and November 15th. I already have the dates locked in. I'm trying to, again, I actually asked Mikey if I could run some partner announcements, excuse me, about this great event. But I'm 2 events coming up for the fall, so just so you know. Other than that, I know I will be on the streets. There's a women's conference in West Palm Beach that I'll be emceeing on the 27th. You can check my page, guys. Just follow me online for a little bit of motivation, a little bit of updates of what's going on in and around town, other little shenanigans. But you can follow me, Suzette Speaks. Suzette, 1Z, 2T's, Speaks with an S. Again, I wanted to probably start mostly with this Putin meeting. Trump and Putin are meeting in Alaska, high stakes meeting, in order to, but many anticipated anyway, in order to stop the war in Ukraine. What we're getting reports of now is that Mr. Trump is now dialing back the expectations. There's been an ongoing war after Russia's invasion of Ukraine's sovereign, they would call it, their own territory. It'd be like somebody coming over and just say, oh, okay, now I own this part of Florida. Sorry, United States, this is mine. And the Ukrainians have been fighting back. And so we find ourselves for the first time in a very long time, Vladimir Putin will be on American soil in Alaska. So just to give you that update, in Anchorage, Alaska, today on Friday, President Trump will host his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, for a meeting here on Friday in an audacious bid to broker a peace deal and stop a 3-year war with Ukraine and an ever-rising body count. That is from NBC News, reporting online. NBC News politics page written by a reporter, Peter Nicholas. Trump spent the run-up to today's summit trying to dial back, tempering expectations that it would produce a breakthrough. Casting it instead, now, Mr. Trump is as a prelude to an as-yet unscheduled meeting that would include Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Now, people are asking, how are you going to have a peace deal or any type of peace deal with only one half of the equation? If you are having a peace deal about an ongoing war, an ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, right now, Mr. Trump is today scheduled only to meet with Vladimir Putin of Russia. So today's meeting does not include Ukraine. So many are asking, how can they broker any type of peace deal with one half of the parties not present? Well, Mr. Trump said today from the Oval Office, yesterday on Thursday, he said, quote, all I want to do is set the table for the meeting, which should happen shortly, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office yesterday. Normally, he's very confident and very bullish, as they say, about his negotiating skills. But Trump told Fox News Radio that the odds are 1 in 4, only 1 in 4, that his sit down with Putin would be a failure. His press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, likened the summit to, quote, a listening exercise, given that Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, would not be in attendance, right? So today, again, the big news, if you haven't been paying attention, don't worry, we got you. We know you're busy. and working and kids and family and everything that's going on in life. I know life comes at you fast, and plus inflation, right? I know everybody's hustling, but we want to keep you aware of what's happening. And the big news of the day is that today in Alaska on American soil, President Trump is scheduled to meet with Vladimir Putin of Russia to discuss the hopeful end, I'm adding that, hopeful end to the war in Ukraine. So when we think about this, the other part of me is thinking about what kind of concessions does Russia want, and what kind of concessions probably is Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, against. And there are certain regions right now that have been a territorial part of Ukraine, the country now, that have been occupied by Russia. Particularly, these are regions you might not know. You know, the name is the Donbass and other regions of Ukraine that is now Russian controlled, and others. Of course, Crimea, which was like a seaport where the Russian aggression led to, a forceful, by force, military style takeover years ago, and then precipitated into this larger conflict that we have now, an invasion by Russia of Ukraine, and the Ukrainians trying to fend off Russians from taking any of their territory. Well, according to a senior Trump official that spoke with NBC News this morning, quote, the president is realistic that this is likely a multi-step process, and he's ready and positive about this step forward, said a senior Trump administration official to NBC News on Friday when asked about the president's mindset. Still, today's sit down between the two leaders at a U.S. military base stands as one of the few hopeful moments in a grinding conflict that started in February, hasn't been that long, 2022, when Russia sent tanks rolling across the border into Ukraine with the goal of swallowing up its democratic neighbor. So let's not forget how we got here. It was first Russia that crossed over into the Ukrainians' territory with its military to take over, hopefully, in their eyes, the Russian eyes, parts, if not all, of Ukraine. It was very frightening. You're living in your own country with your own sovereignty, your own freedom, and here comes your neighbor. Here comes your neighbor now saying, no, we want this part of your country. Hold up. And the Ukrainians have been fighting so bravely, taking so many casualties, drone attacks, all kinds of things in civilian occupied cities. People are living and working in these places still as the war is ongoing. Trump has pushed for the two nations to end the fighting as he makes, this is from NBC News, an increasingly public campaign to win the Nobel Peace Prize. So this morning, after boarding Air Force One for his flight to Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, Trump said of his face-to-face visit with Putin, quote, something is gonna come out of it. Something's gonna come of it. That's the expectation. Now, he's not sure what, and he's not saying it's a peace deal, although he thinks he might qualify now for a Nobel Peace Prize. That's been on his mind a lot lately. Y'all notice that? Mr. Trump won a Nobel. Why he won a Nobel Peace Prize? Why? Because Barack Obama had? Well, as I say in this program, the views expressed here are not that of the station ownership or management, and they only reflect that of the host. So before I go any further, I know we'll have to take a break here shortly. There's some other top stories I want to share with you. I also want to tell you what's going on in the community. It will be very busy. I can't believe it. It's almost in October. By the time we blink, y'all, it's going to be Christmas. My goodness. Time is flying. And did you post your back to school pics yet? We had a lot on my timeline. It was good to see everybody. I don't have no kids, but seeing all the beautiful little ones get ready for their back to school. Shout out to all the parents. We know it's not easy. However you're doing it, right? Sometimes you have two parents, sometimes you have one, sometimes you have a grandma, an aunt, whoever you are. If you have the, parental responsibility, shout out to you because we know it's not easy. It's gotten very expensive for kids. It's gotten very expensive for parents. And we shout out all those in our communities who play a role in the education of our young people because right now, there's another story I wanted to raise, probably after the break. PBS, the public broadcasting system, PBS, has been defunded by the Trump. Oh my gosh, there's always, on Fridays, it's hard to pick the stories because there's a story I also mentioned yesterday about a government-funded project that was funded under the Biden administration. Transportation Secretary at that time, Pete Buttigieg, and the Biden administration had approved a $60 million greenway for the city of Miami that would impact and run right adjacent to one of the historically black neighborhoods, Overtown, creating an infrastructure that would have an overpass, but underneath a beautiful park. Well, the Trump administration has now withdrawn those promised $60 million funds for this park. Now, I don't know what the city of Miami is going to do, but listen, I have to cover that after this break. This is the Suzette Speaks Show, live every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Don't go anywhere. We have a lot more right after this.
The voice of the Caribbean. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
Let Broward County Transit take you to the summer fun and experience the natural beauty of South Florida. Enjoy sunset views.
Oh, I don't want to get copyright. Sorry. Hopefully I don't get copyright strike. Hopefully I don't get copyright strike. I can't get a good angle over here. Hope everybody's good. Is my thing long? I hope you guys seeing me okay. Just put a note in the chat. Shout out to Stephanie Humphrey. Shout out to Damon Blissett. Shout out to Smooth Approach. What's up? Hit the like button, please. I can't see. I can't see. I don't know. Hopefully it looks good. We have a 30-second break. Or maybe a minute. From the radio here in Miami. Hope everybody is good and having a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Or early weekend. I'm ready for the weekend already. Let me talk about that. That's a pretty good story. The $60 million project that got canceled in Miami. $60 million park in Overtown. Let's do that. Yeah, the big beautiful bill kills the funding for this park in Overtown, which is a historically black neighborhood now, which will not have. Let me turn off my laptop sound so it doesn't come on in the middle of the show. Anyway, hope everybody's doing gravy. What's your plans for the weekend? Let me know. I had a busy last weekend. I think I'm going to chill this weekend. I had a death in the family. Another one. Seems like every week, And I got news of a girl who went to church with me growing up passed away. Sad news, man. So we'll see how that goes. I might have to swing by her mom's house. Saturday night. It's crazy. It's crazy, this world. So, yeah. So, okay, Heritage Park Trail. That was supposed to be Miami Trade and Tourism Economy Small Business Community resides on University Financial Grant Punch. Yeah, provided Donald Trump's one big beautiful bill. The plans for $60 million in federal funds on a linear park under the $866 million signature bridge in Overtown and downtown has been axed, potentially turning what would have been a green space and amenities into what critics would say an unused, blighted space. They so evil. Anyway, I'm going to talk about that. And the last one, let me see what else. Besides Trump, what else y'all want to talk about besides Trump? DC, I've been talking about DC takeover of the DC. I'm still talking about DC takeover. Oh, I was talking about PragerU. What do I want to talk about? Wait. Is it better to talk about the DC police takeover? I talked about it a lot yesterday. All right, we're back.
Content for the voice of the Caribbean, Jamaica and far beyond.
24 hours of the best Caribbean music. You're listening to WZPP.
The new 96.
Okay, it's voice of Caribbean. 1021 Shaggy on the dial. We can while I'm in the phone. Yeah. Jump with my feet up.
Yeah. What we doing? How's everybody doing? Welcome back. Susan Speak Show. Fire Friday. Wagwan. It's good to be here with each and every one of you. I came back with a solar song. Yes, I was just telling my YouTube followers, if you want to follow me on YouTube, look for Susan Speaks on YouTube. That unfortunately I got news of another two passings in my own family. And again, for those of you who are experiencing loss, I know how it goes. It's like you just have to keep going. But of course, those are the people that you love, grew up with. It was a young lady who I grew up with in church, and she lost her battle after having a stroke. This woman is not old. Like, shout out to the family. And they know who they are. And I just have a older cousin, my mom's first cousins, that her husband passed after kidney disease. He was on dialysis, and we have been, I'm grateful that they made special effort. Last year I had my family reunion in Atlanta, and the two of them, he and his wife, made very special effort because they had to find a place in Atlanta to do dialysis. Shout out to anybody, we're thinking about you, that is like suffering from debilitating diseases. Sometimes people are just going about their lives and we have no idea what they're going through. So imagine having to travel somewhere, but your life depends, and your blood and your body depends on finding a place where you can get dialysis to clean out your blood. And so they had to literally time him early in the morning, getting dialysis before getting on the plane to get to Atlanta for the family reunion, then have a day or two where they could make an appointment up there so that he could get dialyzed again. And his system, because his kidneys could no longer function and clean the blood the way they're designed to. There are people walking all among us with things that we have no idea what they're going through. So take this as a reminder to treat people with kindness. Don't take things personally. I am very much of the mindset now when people, die. Sometimes the people in South Florida, y'all know, they be kind of rude a little bit. I love my South Florida, not everybody. Because I say good morning. I go on my walking trails. I'll say hello. I speak to everybody. I talked to this guy just for a hot second who was a cop last year. He was like, you talk to everybody. This is not safe. Down here, you don't speak. If you were in Jacksonville, or if you were in Naples, you could talk to people like that. I'm like, I don't care. It's Miami. It's Fort Lauderdale, whatever. I will speak. I don't care where I am. I'm not going to change who I am. Of course, there are certain people you want to just keep the head straight and, don't make eye contact. But, as a whole, we don't want this world to take away our humanity. That's the tough part. When we are living and trying to protect ourselves. And even in the story, and that's a good segue into the story we were talking about yesterday. Crime in DC is down. I'll say it again. Statistically speaking, based on the evidence, crime in DC is down. So when Mr. Trump has been using crime as his main reason for cleaning up so-called DC and putting federal troops on the ground. Well, I'm watching the highlights right now on the news. DC Attorney General now sues the Trump administration. This is hot off the press. Yeah, we're doing this live. And I'm grateful that there are some folks who are questioning and fighting back and asking if the president is within his legal right. Because remember, in order to take over DC's police force, there must be a, quote, emergency. Now, Mr. Trump has stated that he believes crime is the reason for the emergency. And the law as it stands, the one that he's exercising the power to take over the DC police, gives him 30 days. So I'm just seeing the highlight. Let me go ahead and see if I can corroborate that with, some more information that the DC Attorney General is now suing the Trump administration for taking over the police force, suing Trump administration. This is hot off the press. Let me read a little bit more about it. But it's very important that we have accountability and that people, no matter who they are, no matter how big in our government they are, that they follow the law. So, okay, literally 4 hours ago, this site is called Democracy Docket. I haven't vetted it. I'm just going to read it to you from Democracy Docket, hot off the press. The Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, the nation's capital, Attorney General is suing to block President Trump's takeover of the Metropolitan Police Department. Wow. Okay, so he's taking it to court. The D.C. Attorney General, Mr. Brian Schwab, just announced today, on Friday, that his office is suing the federal government over President Trump's attempt to take control of the Metropolitan Police Department of Washington, D.C. Schwab's lawsuit comes after Trump earlier this week federalized the police department and after Attorney General Pam Bondi Thursday night attempted to replace the Metropolitan Police Department's police chief with the Drug Enforcement Administration administrator, the DEA, the federal government's DEA, would now run the police department in Washington, D.C. Wow. The Attorney General of Washington, D.C., Schwab, described both unprecedented moves as brazenly unlawful. That is the quote taken out of democracydocket.com. This is a brand new news alert, a story that I covered in depth yesterday. If you missed it, you can go on my YouTube page and you can watch some of it. I'll post a little clip on Instagram and Facebook and other ones, threads, etc. But this is breaking news that the Attorney General of the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., has now filed a lawsuit to try to block the Trump administration's takeover of the Washington, D.C. Police Department. Right? Breaking news. So according to Attorney General Schwab, he says, quote, they go well beyond the bounds of the president's limited authority and instead seek a hostile takeover of the MPD, Mr. Schwab said. And continuing, he says, they infringe on the district's right to self-governance and to put safety and have put the safety of D.C. residents and visitors at risk. Trump attempted to federalize the MPD through the Home Rule Act of 1973, which allows D.C. residents to elect their mayor and council members. Section 740 of the Home Rule Act allows the president to request the use of the MPD for federal law enforcement purposes, quote, whenever he determines that special conditions of an emergency nature exist, hear me now, which requires the use of the Metropolitan Police Force for federal purposes. However, this authority, according to the Home Rule Act, Section 740, which allowed D.C., remember, D.C. is not a state. It is literally controlled by the federal government, but the Home Rule Act allowed them to elect a mayor and council members. But there are some powers that are still given to the federal government in administrating D.C. And under cases of an emergency, Section 740 allows for the President of the United States to take over under special conditions of an emergency nature, that's what it says, which require the use of the Metropolitan Police for federal purposes. This is supposed to last 30 days. Before Mr. Trump, President Trump, this section of the Home Rule Act of 1973 had never been used before. It's never been invoked before. According to Attorney General of Washington, D.C., Mr. Schwab, even when Section 740 is lawfully invoked, the Home Rule Act keeps operational control of the MPD with the mayor and chief, and the president must request MPD services through the mayor, argues Mr. Schwab in his announcement this morning. Just happened, y'all. The lawsuit alleges that Trump's attempted takeover of MPD will, quote, create immediate, devastating, and irreparable harm for the district. He adds, most critically, the order threatens to upend the command structure of MPD and wreak operational havoc within the department, endangering the safety of the public and law enforcement officers alike, the lawsuit reads. Quote, there is no greater risk to public safety in a large professional law enforcement organization like MPD than to not know who is in command. Okay, so Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, in a derivative Thursday, claimed to appoint the DEA administrator, right? Woo. Drug Enforcement Administrator, the nation's Drug Enforcement Administrator, the DEA administrator, as the head of the MPD, the Metropolitan Police Department for Washington, D.C. Wow. Terry Cole as the, quote, emergency commissioner of the MPD. And Pam Bondi did that, a designation that included, quote, all the powers and duties vested in the D.C. police chief. What? In addition to effectively replacing the MPD chief, who is currently Pamela Smith, with the DEA administrator, Terry Cole, Bondi, in her directive, allegedly revoked MPD orders which limited cooperation between the district police and the federal agents in the immigration enforcement agencies. Schwab's office also alleged in the lawsuit that the Trump administration has already taken steps to extend the federal government's control over the MPD far beyond the Home Rule Act's 30-day limit. After being appointed emergency police commissioner, Cole obtained an MPD badge bearing an expiration date of August 13, 2026. That's a whole year from what? A DC badge. Wait. So the Pam Bondi appointed the DEA administrator, which is the Federal Drug Enforcement Administration administrator, the person in charge of the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, to be the police chief, the acting police chief, removing the current police chief, put the DEA administrator as the acting police chief, and they gave that person a badge bearing an expiration date of August 13th, 2026. Now, hold up a minute. Now, I thought they said the Home Rule Act of 1973 only allows for Mr. Trump, without further approval or without further, congressional opposition, to take over for 30 days. But this person's badge is put to an expiration date of 2026, next year, August, a whole year. In a post on social media, the DC mayor, Muriel Bowser, said that, quote, there is no statute that conveys the district's personnel authority to a federal official. The DC mayor said, quote, on social media, let us be clear about what the law requires during a presidential declared emergency. It requires the mayor of Washington, D.C. to provide the services of the Metropolitan Police Department for federal purposes at the request of the president. So there's the argument being made, both by the Attorney General and now the mayor, saying, wait, you can take us over at, your request of me, the mayor. Wow. Smith, the DC police chief, which is the one they tried to out, the one that existed before, Pamela Smith, the chief, I don't know, is she still not the chief? Is she not the chief? They removed her. The DC police chief said in a court declaration that she was unaware of Trump's plan to assume control of the MPD until he announced it at a press conference earlier this week, indicating that the Trump administration did not send Bowser a request, the mayor of DC, a request for services or for support from the district police. Pamela Smith, that's the current police chief, I think, if she hasn't been removed by the DEA administrator, replaced by the DEA administrator, according to a directive by Attorney General Pam Bondi. Y'all follow? So Pamela Smith says, in my 3 decades nearly in law enforcement, quote, I have never seen a single government action that would cause greater threat to law and order than this dangerous directive, Smith said. So the DC lawsuit was assigned to Judge Anna Reyes, who was appointed by former President Biden. We'll see what happens. While also attempting to federalize the MPD, Trump flooded the district with federal police officers and deployed the DC National Guard to the Capitol. That's what I'm seeing on TV. Now, everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants a safe environment. But wait until we start to see, and I hope this does not happen. And do you think it will happen? You know, people want protection, but do you want protection at the risk of the violation of your own civil rights? Well, because military personnel are not trained police officers on how to deal with communities and individuals living in communities. They're trained and built to go to battle. Well, Trump has dispersed them onto the streets of D.C. Trump has flooded the district with federal police officers and deployed the D.C. National Guard to the Capitol. Trump claims that the National Guard deployment and surge in federal personnel in D.C. is necessary to address, and according to Mr. Trump, again, the statistics say otherwise, violent crime in the district, even as the data, the facts from D.C. police itself show that crime is on the decline. Trump's use of the National Guard within the district could be affected by any court decision. And again, we're just seeing news of this lawsuit. Did you know we have our first named hurricane also? We have our first named hurricane in the Atlantic. We are keeping an eye out on it. The first hurricane of 2025, first major hurricane, they say. First hurricane of the hurricane season. And named, I know they had a couple of names used already. The hurricane season started on June 1st, but Hurricane Erin, that's the name. Erin is in the Atlantic churning. We hope, Erin, you stay away from us, please, especially here in South Florida, because they took half the money and they put it in the Alcatraz, Alligator Alcatraz, our emergency fund for the state of Florida. $450 million of the money, that is $500 million that is normally allocated for departments of emergency management, is actually in the Everglades, building up. All right, let me calm down. Well, the reports have it, Erin has strengthened into a hurricane as of today on Friday. Storm continued on a path over the Atlantic Ocean, forecasters say, according to CBS News Miami. It is a hurricane that will be the first to fully develop in this Atlantic hurricane season, and it's expected to continue gaining strength, potentially growing into a major hurricane. Forecasters with the U.S. National, now remember, they fired half the people that work. Y'all remember they got doged? They fired half the people that work. Well, let me just read the article. Let me calm down. Forecasters with the U.S. National Hurricane Center in Miami have been urging people in the Caribbean. Now, you guys know we all have friends, family, sisters and brothers in the Caribbean. Urging them to monitor Erin's progress, warning that, there may be potential heavy rainfall and life-threatening surf and rip current conditions. Hurricane Erin is not currently forecasted to impact the United States, so right now we're not in the bullseye. You know the little spaghetti models. Big up my brethren, them in Bermuda. It's actually more closer to going possibly based on the predictive models, what they call the spaghetti models, all those little lines from different parts of the country and different end of the world, right? The European model, they predict, they try their best based on the current weather patterns and how hurricanes have reacted in the past to try to give us a heads up on where the storm is likely to go. So they do not think Hurricane Erin, our first named hurricane, to develop into a first major hurricane, I should say, for a storm to develop into a major hurricane, most likely. Hurricane Erin is in the Atlantic. It does not look like it will impact the United States. However, in the Caribbean, we're asking folks to stay vigilant. Once again, Hurricane Erin is not currently forecast to impact the United States, but meteorologists continue to watch it closely. As of Friday afternoon, around this time of my show, Erin was about 415 miles east of the northern Leeward Islands and heading west-northwest at 17 miles an hour with a maximum wind strength right now of 75 miles an hour, which makes it a Category 1. When I look at the models, it looked like it's going kind of like Bermuda way, potentially. So really hopeful that it does not impact us here in the United States. It does not look like it will. It's not predicted to, but of course, Brothers and sisters around the Caribbean, keep your eyes open. Let your family know, especially in the wind and the surf, those undercurrents. The hurricane may not even make landfall on an island. However, the ocean currents are impacted, right? So we want to make sure our families stay vigilant. I do want to go back to a story also I had talked about. What's happening in Miami and the Trump administration with the big so-called beautiful bill taking back $60 million from the city of Miami that was promised under the Joe Biden administration. Let's get to the bottom of this. This is being reported by local10.com, Local 10 News. Trump's big beautiful bill kills funds for a big beautiful park connecting Overtown to downtown. Now listen what's happening here, guys. Miami's trade and tourism economy, small business community, residents, and taxpayers received a financial gut punch because of a provision in President Trump's big, what they call it, one big beautiful bill. Well, this is what that so-called beautiful bill did. Now law, right? It's already been passed. This was the Trump budget that had been passed that he kept calling so-called beautiful. Listen what it did. Plans for a $60 million federally funded linear park now there's a bridge that's going to be built. Now think where Overtown is, the historically black neighborhood, historic nationally preserved district of Miami, Overtown. A bridge. Now you know they love to put a bridge over black neighborhoods. Historically, when interstate highways were being built in America, is it coincidence? When you go to most major cities, the actual highways are cutting through black neighborhoods, these huge thoroughfares. Well, when we look at this signature bridge that is supposed to be built in Overtown, they're going to connect downtown Miami with Overtown by a beautiful bridge. Under the Biden administration, they had promised and allocated $60 million in federal funds for a park underneath this bridge. A green space, the long walking path for residents, visitors all over to come between, walk under this bridge in a green park situation between Overtown and downtown. But guess what happened with the big beautiful bill? Well, it has now been axed, potentially turning what would have been a green space and amenities into what one critic says will be, quote, an unused blighted space. Now you're going to build an $866 million so-called signature bridge between Overtown and downtown. And as a part of that $866 million, under the Biden administration, they had agreed to make underneath the bridge a beautiful amenity-filled park for people to live and walk, residents, visitors to walk between, underneath the bridge, green space. But now the Trump administration's big beautiful bill, according to Local 10 News, have pulled the $60 million, promised to build out a huge park, a linear park that you could walk basically from Overtown all the way straight. Now, one critic says it will now become a what? Unused, quote, blighted space. Miami Commissioner Damian Pardo spoke to Local 10 News after learning that the U.S. Department of Transportation just defunded plans for a 33-acre linear park that would be rich in community amenities like dog parks, an outdoor amphitheater connecting Biscayne Bay, downtown Miami, and the city's cultural gems like the performing arts centers and the museum district with Miami's historic Overtown neighborhood. Well, this project, which was going to be called the Underdeck is the name of it. What happened? They axed it. The Trump administration pulled back that money. No money. That just means you won't be under your bridge with a blighted space. Hello, this, according to, this is Mr. Pardo, Commissioner Damian Pardo, quote, this, I would say, our crown jewel project in the city of Miami, Commissioner Pardo said, businesses were excited about it, residents are excited about it, the community is excited about it, the opportunity to increase the dynamism of the economy in this area, the urban core of the city of Miami, a global city that wants to increase tax bases, by attracting tourists. Right now, thanks to the big beautiful bill, it's dead in the water. Pardo, Commissioner Pardo, said he would tell the current Transportation Secretary and the U.S. President, quote, if you really understood all the particulars, if you understood what we're doing here, especially if you were pro-business, this is a pro-business argument to building this linear park. Pardo was asked to explain his concerns, if any, about the economic impact. Now, with this new move to remove the money for the park, for the people. Mr. Pardo, the commissioner of the city of Miami, said, quote, the economic impact is huge in this area, he said. Consider this. It is 1 mile, 33 acres that goes from I-95, if you know the area, to Maurice Ferre Park. Think of all the small businesses that benefit from walking, people biking, people on scooters, and connecting, you know, all these major areas in downtown Miami. Well, he continues, that is why I would love for President Trump to come down and take a look. I would love for the Secretary of Transportation, the new one, because remember, it was approved under Biden, under Pete Buttigieg and President Biden, and the money has now been removed by the big, beautiful bill. Y'all, I'm almost out of time. I gotta keep talking. Y'all look this up. Remember, all views expressed here are not that of this radio station's ownership or management. It is me, the individual host. Wow. But people are really upset about this $60 million that have been removed from creating what would have been a historical streetscape that will reunite the urban fabric of the historically Black community of Overtown. Y'all, I'm out of time. And all the other major Miami areas. Just listen, y'all have a good weekend. Don't let this news stress you out. Tell somebody you love them. Take care of yourselves and each other. I appreciate you listening. Much more Fire Friday today on Voice of the Caribbean. Thank you for tuning in to the Suzette Speak Show. I appreciate you. Miss Lisa B is up next. Have a great weekend. Be good, all right? And I'll see you, and I'll give you much more of a breakdown every Thursday and Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. Take care.
Over the last 13 years, personal injury lawyer Samuel Otinsky have been helping the Florida class with personal injury, workers' compensation, medical malpractice.
My show goes so fast, and I have so much to say. But it is what it is. I'll see you guys. Take care. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button. Take care.